Welcome back to our channel, where we explore the depths of literature and uncover the hidden treasures of poetic brilliance. Today, we embark on a journey through the enchanting world of John Keats' Ode to a Nightingale. This masterpiece of romantic poetry takes us on a voyage of emotions, evoking both the joy and despair of the human experience. Stay tuned as we delve into the nuances of this ethereal ode. Let's start. First, let's see the topics we will cover in this video. We will start with the author biography segment. Here, I will introduce you to the brilliant mind behind the poem, John Keats. We will learn about his life, his poetic journey, and the historical context that shaped Ode to a Nightingale. In the next part, called Introduction of the Poem, we will look at the overview of the themes and main ideas within the poem. In the next two sections, we will uncover the intricate poetic devices and literary techniques that Keats masterfully weaves throughout the poem. From imagery and symbolism to rhyme and meter, we will dissect the poem's structure and form to reveal its artistic brilliance. In the line-by-line explanation section, we will take a poetic stroll through every line of Ode to a Nightingale. We will unravel the profound beauty, emotions, and themes hidden within each verse, painting a vivid picture of Keats' thoughts and emotions. In the following part, we will delve into the historical context and personal struggles that influenced Keats' poetic journey, lending depth and meaning to his immortal words. In the next part, we will explore the profound philosophical implications woven into the fabric of Ode to a Nightingale. We will witness Keats' contemplations on mortality, transcendence, and the power of art to elevate the human spirit. In the following section, we will discover the enduring legacy and cultural impact of Keats' ode. We will witness how his timeless work continues to inspire generations of poets, writers, and artists, shaping the world of literature and culture. In the last section, I will provide a concise summary of the poem, encapsulating its essence and themes. Today, we step into the enchanting world of John Keats, a brilliant poet born in London in 1795. Keats emerged as a prominent figure of the Romantic era, a literary movement characterized by a profound appreciation for nature's beauty, a yearning for emotional expression, and a fascination with ancient legends and myths. Let's take a moment to delve into some of his notable works, each a testament to his poetic brilliance. Endymion, written in 1818, is an early epic poem that showcases Keats' lyrical style and explores themes of love and beauty. Hyperion, written in 1819, is a fragmentary epic poem inspired by Greek mythology, reflecting his fascination with ancient legends. To Autumn, written in 1819, is a lyrical ode that celebrates the beauty and richness of the autumn season. Ode on a Grecian Urn, written in 1819, is an ode that contemplates the beauty and immortality depicted on a Grecian urn, exploring the nature of art and the transience of life. Despite his undeniable poetic talent, Keats' life was tragically cut short by tuberculosis at the tender age of 25. However, in his short life, he left an indelible mark on the world of literature with his lyrical style and exploration of profound themes. In this poem, the poet delves into profound themes of mortality, the power of art, and the contrast between the transience of human life and the eternal song of the nightingale. The main idea of the poem revolves around the speaker's yearning for escape from the weariness and suffering of existence, finding solace in the ethereal beauty and transcendence of the nightingale's song. Keats explores the fleeting nature of human life and the allure of death as an escape from the burdens and sorrows of the world. He expresses his longing for a state of pure bliss, where he can leave behind the limitations of his mortal existence and fade away into the enchanting realm of the nightingale. Through vivid and sensory imagery, Keats paints a picture of the nightingale's melodious song, which symbolizes the beauty and joy that transcends human suffering. The nightingale becomes an emblem of the eternal, a source of inspiration that lifts the poet's spirit and offers a glimpse of a world untouched by human trials. Yet, alongside this desire for escape, the poem also reflects on the power of art and the enduring legacy it can create. Keats recognizes that through his own poetry, he can achieve a form of immortality and leave a mark on the world. He contemplates the ability of art to transcend time, capturing the essence of beauty and preserving it for future generations. In Ode to a Nightingale, Keats skillfully blends intense emotions, introspection, and philosophical musings. The poem resonates with readers by exploring the dichotomy of human existence and the possibility of finding solace and transcendence through art and the wonders of nature. Ode to a Nightingale adheres to the structure of an ode, a classical poetic form that addresses a specific subject with profound respect and admiration. This ode consists of 8 stanzas, each consisting of 10 lines written in iambic pentameter, a rhythmic pattern that creates a natural and flowing tone. The rhyme scheme of ABABCDECDE lends a musical quality to the poem, enhancing its melodious flow. Keats skillfully weaves a pattern of rhymes that mirrors the fluidity of the Nightingale's song. Keats' skillful use of poetic devices enhances the emotional impact of the poem, drawing us into the world of the Nightingale's song and the poet's yearning for transcendence. Let's begin with imagery, one of the most captivating poetic devices employed by Keats. Throughout the poem, he paints vivid and sensory pictures, transporting us to a world of ethereal beauty. Listen to how Keats describes the Nightingale's song as full-throated ease and the melodious plot of beechen green and shadows numberless. This imagery immerses us in the scenes of nature and the profound emotions of the speaker. Let's see some examples. In the 9th line, visual imagery of a lush, green landscape with countless shadows creates a vivid natural scene. In the 40th line, imagery of dark and green shadows evoke a mysterious and enchanting forest setting. Moving on to symbolism, Keats masterfully uses the nightingale as a symbol of beauty, joy, and transcendence. The Nightingale's song becomes a representation of an eternal realm, contrasting with the weariness and suffering of human existence. Its presence uplifts the spirit of the speaker, offering a glimpse of a world beyond earthly trials. Let's see some example. In line 61, the nightingale is referred to as the immortal bird, symbolizing its eternal nature and contrasting it with mortal beings. In lines 65 and 66, the nightingale's song is associated with the biblical character Ruth, symbolizing the power of art and music to heal and soothe a troubled heart. Now, let's explore the captivating sounds of alliteration and assonance. Keats employs these devices to create musical and rhythmic effects in his poetry. Notice how the repetition of consonant sounds in lines like "my heart aches" and "a drowsy numbness pains" adds a musical quality to the verses. Additionally, the repetition of vowel sounds in "cooled a long age in the deep-delved earth" enhances the poem's melodic flow. Enjambment, a favorite of Keats, contributes to the fluidity and continuity of his verses. He lets sentences and phrases flow seamlessly from one line to the next without punctuation, mirroring the continuous song of the nightingale. This technique invites us to become fully immersed in the poet's thoughts and emotions. Let's see an example. In lines 17 and 18, the phrase spills over from the end of one line to the next without punctuation, creating a flowing and uninterrupted description of the wine. Keats employs metaphors and oxymorons to add layers of meaning to his poetry. For instance, the phrase "beaded bubbles winking at the brim" combines the solidity of beads with the fluidity of bubbles, creating a vivid image of the wine's sparkle. These devices enrich the poem, making it a tapestry of contrasts and paradoxes. We can see an example of a metaphor in line 33. Here, poesy or poetry is metaphorically depicted as wings that allow the speaker to fly to the nightingale, symbolizing the power of art and imagination. An example of oxymoron is present in line 47, where the violets are described as fast fading yet covered up in leaves, presenting a contrast between the delicate beauty of the flowers and their imminent withering. Lastly, we encounter hyperbole, an artistic exaggeration, as Keats expresses his intense desire to escape from reality and merge with the nightingale. He longs to fade far away, dissolve, and quite forget the troubles of the world, a yearning heightened through the power of hyperbolic expression. Let's see some examples. In lines 21 and 22, the speaker desires to escape so completely that he exaggerates his willingness to forget all the troubles of life. In line 61, by addressing the nightingale as immortal bird, the speaker exaggerates its endurance and contrasts it with mortal beings, emphasizing the bird's perceived immortality. "My heart aches, and a drowsy numbness pains, my sense, as though of hemlock I had drunk, or emptied some dull opiate to the drains. 1 minute passed, and lethe wards had sunk. 'Tis not through envy of thy happy lot, but being too happy in thine happiness, that thou, light-winged dryad of the trees, in some melodious plot of beechen green and shadows numberless, singest of summer in full-throated ease." Before starting the line-by-line explanation, first let's go through the difficult words and phrases. Drowsy numbness means a feeling of drowsiness and numbness, a lack of sensation or awareness. Hemlock is a poisonous plant that can cause death when ingested. Opiate is a drug or substance that induces sleep or numbs the senses. Lethe wards means towards the river Lethe. In Greek mythology, river Lethe was believed to cause forgetfulness when its waters were consumed. Envy refers to jealousy or a feeling of discontented or resentful longing aroused by someone else's possessions, qualities, or luck. Dryad is a nymph or spirit associated with trees, particularly oak trees, in Greek mythology. They are often depicted as ethereal and nymph-like beings. Beechen refers to beech trees, and green indicates the color of the leaves and surroundings. In the first stanza of this poem, the poet expresses a deep emotional state. He begins by describing a feeling of physical and mental distress, saying that his heart aches and he is experiencing a drowsy numbness that torments his senses. He compares this sensation to the effect of having drunk hemlock, a poisonous plant, or having consumed a strong opiate that induces a stupefied state. The poet then imagines a scenario where he could have just passed a minute ago into the realm of Lethe, which in Greek mythology was a river in the underworld associated with forgetfulness. By using this reference, Keats suggests that he might wish to escape from his current state of suffering and find solace in oblivion. However, he clarifies that his sadness and longing for escape are not caused by jealousy of the nightingale's joyful existence. The bird, which he calls a light-winged dryad of the trees, is a symbol of nature's spirit, specifically a wood nymph associated with the trees. The nightingale is happily perched in a beautiful and harmonious setting, represented as a melodious plot of beech-end green, with countless shadows. The nightingale's song fills the surroundings with the celebration of summer, resonating with a powerful and effortless melody symbolized by full-throated ease. While the nightingale's joyous song contrasts with the poet's suffering, the beauty of the bird's music also intensifies his own pain. The realization of the nightingale's carefree existence serves as a reminder of the fleeting nature of happiness, and this contrast deepens the poet's melancholic emotions. The first stanza of the ode sets the stage for the exploration of themes such as the transient nature of joy, the longing for an escape from the pains of reality, and the interplay between the mortal and immortal realms. Keats masterfully juxtaposes the nightingale's joyful song with the poet's melancholy, laying the groundwork for the contemplation of life's impermanence and the power of art and nature to offer solace in the face of human suffering. Oh, for a draught of vintage, that hath been, cooled a long age in the deep-delved earth, tasting of flora and the country green, dance, and Provençal song, and sunburnt mirth. Oh, for a beaker full of the warm south, full of the true, the blushful Hippocrene, with beaded bubbles winking at the brim, and purple-stained mouth, that I might drink, and leave the world unseen, and with thee fade away into the forest dim. Let's go through the difficult words and phrases before we start the explanation. Draught of vintage is a drink of aged wine, typically referring to a high-quality and well-aged vintage. Deep-delved means excavated or dug deeply, often referring to the process of mining or digging into the earth. Flora refers to the goddess of flowers and vegetation in Roman mythology. Country green refers to the lush, green countryside. Provençal song is a song or poetry originating from Provence, a region in southeastern France known for its rich cultural heritage. The phrase sunburnt mirth refers to the joy and happiness associated with the warm and sunny climate of the south. Hippocrene is a fountain on Mount Helicon in Greek mythology, believed to be the source of poetic inspiration when its waters were consumed. In the next stanza, the poet continues to express his desire to escape from his current state of sorrow, and immerse himself in a world of intoxicating pleasures and sensory delights. Keats starts by yearning for a drink of vintage wine, one that has been aged for a long time in the deep, excavated earth. This aged wine is not just a beverage, it represents a connection to the past and carries the essence of nature, represented by flora, and the countryside, represented by country green. The mention of dance, and Provençal song, and sunburnt mirth, evokes images of joyous celebrations and the vibrant culture of the Provence region in southern France. The poet craves a beaker full of the warm south, symbolizing the warmth and richness of southern lands. This beaker is filled with the blushful Hippocrene, a mythical fountain on Mount Helicon, sacred to the Muses in Greek mythology. Drinking from this fountain was believed to provide poetic inspiration. The mention of beaded bubbles winking at the brim evokes the image of effervescence, further enhancing the sensory pleasure of the wine. The wine's mouth is described as purple-stained, indicating its richness and potency, but also possibly hinting at the poet's desire for a kind of spiritual or emotional intoxication that could help him escape the pains of reality. With this vintage wine in hand, the poet envisions a moment of escape and bliss. He wishes to drink deeply from this beaker and be transported into a state where he becomes disconnected from the world, leaving it unseen. By doing so, he hopes to join the nightingale in its world, where he can fade away into the forest dim. This desire for fading away suggests a desire for temporary oblivion or transcendence, where the poet can experience a union with nature and the nightingale, finding relief from his mortal sufferings. In this stanza, Keats contrasts the nightingale's carefree existence with his own desire for escape through sensual experiences. The theme of seeking a temporary release from the burdens of life continues, drawing the reader deeper into the poet's contemplation of mortality and the allure of poetic imagination as a means of finding solace. Fade far away, dissolve, and quite forget, what thou among the leaves hast never known, the weariness, the fever, and the fret, here, where men sit and hear each other groan, where palsy shakes a few, sad, last grey hairs, where youth grows pale, and spectre thin, and dies, where but to think is to be full of sorrow, and leaden-eyed despairs, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. Let's look at the difficult words and phrases before we proceed with the explanation. Weariness refers to extreme tiredness, fever denotes intense agitation, and fret means to be distressed or anxious. Palsy is a condition causing involuntary tremors or shaking. Spectre thin means extremely thin, almost ghost-like or emaciated. Leaden-eyed despairs refers to a state of deep sorrow or hopelessness that weighs heavily on the soul. Pine here means to yearn or long for. The phrase suggests that the hope and excitement of new love are short-lived. In the third stanza, the poet elaborates on his desire to escape from the realities and burdens of human existence. He calls for a complete dissolution of his consciousness, asking to fade far away, and forget the trials and tribulations that the nightingale has never experienced among the leaves. Keats contrasts the nightingale's blissful existence in nature with the harsh realities of human life. He lists the sufferings of human existence, describing the weariness, fever, and anxiety that plague people in the world. The nightingale, unaware of these burdens, remains free from the sorrows experienced by humans. The poet portrays the human condition as one of misery and despair, where people gather together but are burdened by their own ailments and woes. He mentions palsy shakes, which alludes to the tremors of old age, and a few, sad, last grey hairs, suggesting the decline of life in old age. The youth are depicted as pale and spectre thin, possibly representing the toll of illness or sorrow on young individuals. The mention of death implies that mortality is an inescapable part of human life. Even the act of thinking itself becomes sorrowful in the human world, leading to despondency and heavy-heartedness symbolized by leaden-eyed despairs. The notion of beauty and love is tarnished in this world, as a beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, suggesting that beauty and joy are fleeting and cannot be preserved. Similarly, new love pines for a future that may not materialize, symbolized by beyond tomorrow. By highlighting the harsh realities of human existence, Keats emphasizes the stark contrast between the nightingale's carefree existence and the burdensome life of humans. The poet's longing to forget these troubles and dissolve into the nightingale's world is a manifestation of his desire to escape the limitations and pains of mortal life. This stanza further develops the themes of mortality, transience, and the longing for transcendence that are central to the poem. Keats uses vivid and somber imagery to depict the human condition and heighten the yearning for the nightingale's idyllic existence. The poem's exploration of the dichotomy between nature and human experience continues to draw readers into the poet's profound contemplation of life, death, and the quest for meaning and consolation through art and nature. Away, away, for I will fly to thee, not charioted by Bacchus and his pards, but on the viewless wings of poesy, though the dull brain perplexes and retards, already with thee. Tender is the night, and haply the queen moon is on her throne, clustered around by all her starry fays, but here there is no light, save what from heaven is with the breezes blown, through verdurous glooms and winding mossy ways. Let's look at the difficult words and phrases before we proceed with the explanation. Bacchus is the Roman god of wine, revelry, and ecstasy. Pards refer to leopards, which were often associated with Bacchus in mythology. In ancient depictions and descriptions of Bacchus, he is often seen riding in a chariot drawn by leopards or panthers. Viewless means invisible or unseen. Poesy refers to poetry or the art of composing poems. Perplex means to confuse, puzzle, or make someone feel uncertain about something. Retard means to slow down or hinder progress. Queen moon is a poetic reference to the moon, which is often personified as a queen or goddess. The phrase clustered around refers to the stars surrounding or gathering around the queen moon. The stars are personified as starry fays, which can be interpreted as fairy-like beings or spirits. Verdurous means lush and green, often referring to vegetation. Glooms indicate dimly lit or shadowy areas. Winding means meandering through the landscape. Mossy ways describes pathways covered with moss. In this stanza, the poet expresses his strong desire to leave the world behind and join the nightingale in its world of enchantment and beauty. He declares that he will fly to the nightingale, not through the conventional means of being carried by the god Bacchus and his leopards, referring to a Bacchic procession, but rather on the intangible and invisible wings of poesy, which signifies the power of poetry and artistic inspiration. Keats acknowledges that the journey to join the nightingale might be challenging because the human mind can be dull and obstructive. Yet, he is already with the nightingale in spirit, even before physically reaching its presence. The poet creates a magical and ethereal atmosphere by describing the night as tender, and suggesting that the queen moon may be on her throne, surrounded by her starry attendants or starry fays. This celestial imagery heightens the sense of enchantment and escapism that the nightingale's world offers. In contrast to the nightingale's realm, the poet emphasizes the darkness and absence of light in the human world. The phrase "here there is no light" conveys a sense of desolation and lack of spiritual illumination. In these lines, the poet suggests that the only light that is present in the human world comes from the heavenly sources, carried by the gentle winds through lush and shadowy places. This stanza continues to develop the themes of escape and transcendence, as the poet longs to leave the mundane and troubled human world, and be transported to a realm of poetic inspiration and natural beauty represented by the nightingale's habitat. Keats uses vivid and evocative language to create a striking contrast between the magical, otherworldly setting of the nightingale and the somber, prosaic reality of human existence. By relying on the power of poesy, Keats asserts the ability of art and the poetic imagination to transcend the limitations of the physical world and connect with the sublime. Through this ode, Keats grapples with profound questions about the fleeting nature of happiness, the allure of artistic expression, and the desire for a timeless, joyful existence free from the burdens of mortality. I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hangs upon the boughs, but, in embalmed darkness, guess each sweet, wherewith the seasonable month endows, the grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild, white hawthorn, and the pastoral eglantine, fast fading violets covered up in leaves, and mid-May's eldest child, the coming musk rose, full of dewy wine, the murmurous haunt of flies on summer eves. Let's look at the difficult words and phrases before we proceed with the explanation. Incense refers to a pleasant fragrance or perfume, often used in religious or ceremonial settings. Boughs are the branches of trees. Embalmed suggests preserved or fixed, often referring to the embalming of the deceased. Here, it describes a state of darkness that seems to have an eternal, unchanging quality. Seasonable month refers to the specific time of the year when certain flowers bloom and thrive. Endows means to provide or grant. Pastoral refers to a rural or countryside setting. Eglantine is a type of wild rose with fragrant pink or white flowers. Mid-May's eldest child refers to the first and most mature blooming rose of the season in the middle of May, often considered the epitome of beauty and youthfulness. Murmurous means filled with or characterized by murmurs. In this stanza, the poet continues to describe the enchanting world of the nightingale, contrasting it with his own limited and mortal perspective. He begins by expressing his inability to see the flowers that lie at his feet or the fragrant incense that hangs on the tree branches. This lack of awareness of the immediate surroundings represents the poet's detachment from the physical world, as he is absorbed in his thoughts and dreams of joining the nightingale's realm. Despite not being able to see the flowers directly, the poet imagines and guesses the presence of each delightful scent that the season has bestowed upon nature. He personifies the month, attributing it with the ability to endow various elements of the landscape with sweetness. The grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild are all imbued with the sense of their respective blooms, contributing to the sensory richness of the nightingale's world. Keats mentions specific flowers that he envisions in this magical realm. The white hawthorn and pastoral eglantine or wild roses evoke the imagery of a countryside landscape, adding to the idyllic atmosphere. He refers to fast-fading violets covered up in leaves, indicating that the season is progressing, and certain blooms are starting to wane, emphasizing the transient nature of beauty. The poet anticipates the arrival of Mid-May's eldest child, which is the coming musk rose, full of dewy wine. This metaphorical description of the musk rose portrays it as a precious and intoxicating flower, symbolizing the essence of nature's beauty. The term dewy wine suggests that the musk rose holds a magical and refreshing quality that might even intoxicate with its allure. The stanza ends with the image of the musk rose being a murmurous haunt of flies on summer eves, indicating that the flower attracts and provides a haven for buzzing insects, which contributes to the vibrant and lively atmosphere of the nightingale's world. Through this stanza, Keats continues to emphasize the allure of the nightingale's realm, where the poet's imagination fills in the gaps of sensory perception, allowing him to experience the beauty and essence of nature beyond what his physical senses can perceive. The description of the various flowers and scents enhances the imagery of a lush and abundant natural setting, further inviting the reader to immerse themselves in the dreamlike world of the nightingale's song. The poet's yearning for a deeper connection with nature and the transcendent experience of art and beauty remains a central theme throughout the ode. Darkling I listen, and, for many a time, I have been half in love with easeful death, called him soft names in many a mused rhyme, to take into the air my quiet breath, Now more than ever seems it rich to die, to cease upon the midnight with no pain. While thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad, in such an ecstasy, still wouldst thou sing, and I have ears in vain, to thy high requiem become a sod. Let's look at the difficult words and phrases before we proceed with the explanation. Darkling means in the dark or in darkness, often used poetically. Mused rhyme indicates poetic compositions that are created through deep contemplation and introspection. Quiet breath signifies the speaker's contemplations of the idea of his soul being released from his body. The phrase, pouring forth thy soul abroad, is a vivid and figurative expression that suggests the Nightingale's song is not merely a vocalization, but an emotional outpouring of its very essence or soul. Ecstasy signifies an overwhelming feeling of joy, rapture, or intense emotion, often reaching a state of euphoria. High requiem refers to a solemn song or hymn sung to honor the dead. Become a sod implies the transformation of the song into a piece of the earth, representing the final resting place of the deceased. In this stanza, the poet reflects on his past contemplations of death and how the Nightingale's song intensifies his current longing for a peaceful end. The stanza begins with the poet listening intently to the Nightingale's song. The word darkling means in the darkness, suggesting that the scene is set in the evening or night, which is fitting given the nocturnal nature of the Nightingale's singing. Keats admits that he has, on numerous occasions, been half in love with easeful death. This intriguing line reveals the poet's complex feelings towards mortality. He has entertained the idea of death as a tranquil and painless escape from life's trials and sorrows. Death becomes personified as an alluring figure with whom the poet has engaged in imaginative musings. The poet yearns for death to come and take into the air my quiet breath, which suggests a desire for a gentle and serene passing. He believes that dying while the Nightingale sings would be an exceptionally rich and meaningful experience. The beauty and ecstasy of the Nightingale's song serve to magnify the allure of death. The poet envisions the ideal moment to depart from life while the Nightingale's song fills the air with its enchanting melody. The comparison between the Nightingale's ecstatic singing and the poet's yearning for death is profound. The Nightingale's song becomes a symbol of transcendence and artistic expression, akin to the soul's longing to escape the confines of mortality. The last two lines convey a sense of resignation and sadness. The poet acknowledges that, even though he desires to listen to the Nightingale's song forever, he knows it is futile. In this context, ears in vain signifies his inability to experience the Nightingale's song indefinitely or to fully join the Nightingale's world. Instead, he realizes that he will become like the earth, to thy high requiem become a sod, a part of nature's cycle, returning to the earth upon his death. This stanza explores the themes of mortality, the longing for a transcendent experience, and the juxtaposition of the Nightingale's euphoric singing with the poet's contemplation of death. Keats skillfully weaves together the beauty of the Nightingale's song with the profound questions about life, death, and the eternal search for meaning in the face of impermanence. Thou wast not born for death, immortal bird, no hungry generations tread thee down, the voice I hear this passing night was heard, in ancient days by emperor and clown, perhaps the self-same song that found a path, through the sad heart of Ruth, when, sick for home, she stood in tears amid the alien corn, the same that oft times hath charmed magic casements, opening on the foam of perilous seas, in fairy lands forlorn. Let's look at the difficult words and phrases before we proceed with the explanation. Hungry generations symbolize the continuous cycle of human existence, implying that generations come and go, but the Nightingale remains unaffected and eternal. Emperor and clown represent individuals from opposite ends of the social spectrum, symbolizing people from all walks of life. Alien corn refers to crops or grain that are grown in a foreign land, symbolizing something unfamiliar or foreign. Ofttimes is an archaic form of often, indicating frequent occurrences. Charmed means to bewitch or captivate. Magic casements refer to enchanted windows or openings. The phrase perilous seas refers to dangerous or treacherous oceans or waters. Fairy lands alludes to fairy realms or enchanting, otherworldly places. Forlorn indicates abandoned or desolate. In this stanza, the poet celebrates the Nightingale's immortal nature and its timeless song, suggesting that the bird's song has been heard by generations throughout history and continues to captivate hearts across ages. The stanza begins with the poet addressing the Nightingale as an immortal bird. Keats emphasizes that the Nightingale is not subject to the mortal fate of death that humans face. Unlike humanity, which is bound by the limitations of mortality, the Nightingale's song will not be silenced or forgotten by the passing of time. The poet emphasizes the enduring quality of the Nightingale's song by asserting that no hungry generations tread thee down. The Nightingale's song is not overshadowed or forgotten as generations come and go, indicating that its beauty and significance transcend the temporal nature of human existence. Keats then reflects on the universality of the Nightingale's song. He hears the same melody on the passing night that was once heard in ancient times by both emperors and common folk. This suggests that the Nightingale's song has an appeal that transcends social distinctions, resonating with people from all walks of life. The poet muses that the Nightingale's song might have been the same one that once comforted Ruth, a biblical figure, when she was homesick and tearful amid unfamiliar surroundings. This reference connects the Nightingale's song to themes of longing, solace, and the universal human experience of displacement and nostalgia. Furthermore, the same song may have enchanted listeners in the past, leading them to daydream of magical and fantastical realms. Keats suggests that the Nightingale's song has the power to transport people's imaginations to distant and enchanting worlds, evoking a sense of wonder and escape from the mundane realities of life. Through this stanza, Keats elevates the Nightingale's song to the status of a timeless and universal masterpiece. The bird becomes a symbol of poetic inspiration and the enduring power of art to transcend the limitations of mortal existence. The ode delves into the nature of beauty, the passage of time, and the quest for immortality through artistic expression, culminating in a profound contemplation of the Nightingale's song as a symbol of the eternal human spirit. Forlorn, the very word is like a bell, to toll me back from thee to my sole self. Adieu, the fancy cannot cheat so well, as she is famed to do, deceiving elf. Adieu, adieu, thy plaintive anthem fades, past the near meadows, over the still stream, up the hillside, and now 'tis buried deep, in the next valley glades. Was it a vision, or a waking dream? Fled is that music. Do I wake or sleep? Let's look at the difficult words and phrases before we proceed with the explanation. Forlorn means abandoned, lonely, or desolate. Fancy refers to the imagination or creative thoughts. Plaintive anthem describes the Nightingale's mournful and melancholic song. Fades indicates the diminishing or disappearance of the sound. Valleglades refer to the secluded and picturesque areas within valleys, often filled with lush vegetation. Vision refers to a vivid mental image or a hallucination. The phrase waking dream suggests that the speaker's experience was so profound and enchanting that it felt like he was in a dream even though he was fully awake. Fled means to have disappeared or departed quickly. In this stanza, the poet experiences a moment of disconnection from the Nightingale's world and returns to his own reality. The stanza reflects the poet's bittersweet farewell to the Nightingale's realm and the profound impact the bird's song had on his thoughts and emotions. Keats starts by using the word forlorn as a metaphorical bell, tolling to remind him to return to his solitary self and the confines of his mortal existence. The enchantment of the Nightingale's song has temporarily taken him away from his own reality, and now, like the sound of a bell, it calls him back to his ordinary state of being. The poet bids farewell to the Nightingale, acknowledging that his imagination or fancy cannot deceive him as effectively as it is renowned for doing. The deceiving elf refers to the tricky and elusive nature of imagination, suggesting that even though it can conjure fantastical images, it cannot completely replace reality. Keats bids farewell twice, repeating adieu, adieu, as if to emphasize the finality of the moment. The Nightingale's plaintive anthem or song starts to fade away as it moves past nearby meadows, over a still stream, and up the hillside. The imagery suggests that the bird's song gradually recedes into the distance, leaving the poet's immediate surroundings. The Nightingale's song is now buried deep in the next valley glades, meaning that the sound has fully dissipated and become inaudible. This transformation of the Nightingale's song into a distant memory evokes a sense of loss and longing in the poet's heart. Keats then questions the reality of the experience. He wonders whether the encounter with the Nightingale and its enchanting song was merely a vision or a waking dream. The intensity of the experience makes it feel surreal and almost too good to be true. The stanza concludes with a powerful and enigmatic line. Fled is that music, do I wake or sleep? Keats is unsure whether he is fully awake or perhaps still in a dreamlike state. The sudden absence of the Nightingale's song and its effect on the poet's senses leave him in a state of uncertainty, blurring the boundaries between reality and the realm of dreams. This stanza marks a pivotal moment in the poem, as the poet transitions from the heightened enchantment of the Nightingale's world back to his own reality. The contrast between the ethereal experience of the Nightingale's song and the uncertainty of the poet's own state adds to the complexity of the themes explored in the ode, such as the fleeting nature of beauty, the struggle with mortality, and the power of imagination to transport and deceive. This ode by John Keats was written in May 1819, during the Romantic period in English literature. The Romantic movement emerged in the late 18th and early 19th centuries as a response to the Industrial Revolution, and the Enlightenment's emphasis on reason and rationality. Romantics celebrated emotion, nature, individualism, and the imagination, seeking to explore deeper human experiences and the mysteries of existence. John Keats, one of the prominent Romantic poets, lived a short but intensely creative life. Born in 1795, Keats faced personal hardships, including the death of his parents and younger brother, which had a profound impact on his work. He turned to poetry as a means of escapism and expression, and his poetic career blossomed in the early 1810s. This is one of Keats' most celebrated poems and is considered a hallmark of his poetic achievement. It was written during a particularly challenging period in his life when he was grappling with financial struggles, personal loss, and concerns about his own mortality. Keats was also experiencing the early symptoms of tuberculosis, a disease that would eventually claim his life at the young age of 25. The poem reflects the themes prevalent in Keats' work, such as the transience of beauty and the longing for escape from the burdens of mortal existence. The nightingale, a symbol of nature's transcendent beauty and the immortal spirit, becomes an object of fascination and inspiration for the poet. Through the nightingale's song, Keats seeks to explore the possibility of finding solace and transcendence in art and nature amidst the hardships and sorrows of life. Keats was deeply influenced by classical mythology, which is evident in his references to Greek figures like Bacchus and Lethe. He also drew inspiration from William Shakespeare and other English poets. His use of vivid and sensuous imagery, as well as his musical and imaginative language, contributes to the rich and emotional depth of the poem. Keats grapples with the complexities of existence, exploring the contrast between the fleeting nature of human life and the eternal song of the nightingale. Through the poet's longing for an escape from reality, he contemplates the allure of death and the idea of achieving immortality through art. Keats seeks to break free from the limitations of his mortal existence, finding solace in the nightingale's song, which he perceives as an emblem of transcendent beauty and joy. Keats' ode has stood the test of time, resonating with readers across generations. Its exploration of mortality, the power of art, and the beauty of nature has continued to inspire countless poets, writers, and artists. The poem's emotional depth and vivid imagery have left an indelible mark on the world of literature. Ode to a Nightingale is celebrated for its fusion of sensuous beauty and profound thought, capturing the essence of romanticism. It showcases the poet's ability to infuse intense emotions into his work and to evoke a sense of empathy in readers. This poem, along with Keats' other celebrated works, has solidified his position as one of the most revered poets in English literature. Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats is a profound and introspective poem that explores themes of mortality, the fleeting nature of joy, the allure of escape, and the power of art and nature to offer solace. The poem begins with the poet's emotional distress and yearning to escape his troubles, comparing his state to the effects of intoxication. He then encounters a nightingale singing in the woods, and its joyous song captivates him, evoking a desire to join the bird in its world of bliss. Keats delves into the contrasts between the nightingale's carefree existence and the sorrows of human life, depicting the nightingale as an immortal being and its song as timeless and universal. The nightingale's song becomes a symbol of the power of poetry and art to transcend the limitations of mortality. Throughout the poem, the poet experiences a shifting perspective, at times yearning for a deeper connection with nature and the nightingale, and at other times, questioning the reality of the experience. The nightingale's song, while enchanting, also intensifies the poet's own feelings of sorrow and mortality. In the latter part of the poem, the poet bids farewell to the nightingale's world and returns to his own reality. He reflects on the fleeting nature of the nightingale's song, wondering if it was a vision or a waking dream. The poem ends on a note of ambiguity and uncertainty, leaving the reader to contemplate the blurred boundaries between imagination and reality. Ode to a Nightingale is a rich and evocative exploration of the human condition, offering a profound meditation on life, death, beauty, and the ephemeral nature of joy. Keats' use of vivid imagery and symbolism, along with his mastery of language, makes the poem a timeless and resonant work that continues to captivate readers with its profound insights into the human experience. Thank you for joining us on this poetic adventure. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to receive notifications for the next installment. Until then, keep exploring the world of literature and let the magic of words inspire your soul.